A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for sticking to Y254 TV. My name is Cheryl Blessing, and you are watching the Power Talk Show. Now, this evening, we want to talk about something that touches most of the youth in Kenya. We want to address the creatives. How have the digital platforms helped Kenyan creatives advance and even promote their art? Now, joining me this evening, we have the lovely Claire Waidanji, who is a content creator. Welcome, Claire.
Thank you.
How are you feeling tonight?
I am feeling very joyful.
And you look joyful as well.
Thank you.
And right next to her, we have an artist who goes by the name Kushi Kush. Karibu sana Kush.
Thank you.
How are you as well?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
It's such a pleasure to have creatives in the studio today, and we want to address how they have utilized the digital platforms and their social media to utilize and further their careers. So join us on our social media platforms as well, where you can engage with a conversation, share a comment, ask a question if you have one, share your opinions at Y254 across all social media platforms. Now you can also engage with me personally on my pages, which is at Cheryl Blessing. Thank you so much again for sticking tuned. And before we start, I want us to understand what are the major platforms that are being utilized currently by the Kenyan youth. So Claire, what platforms are you most popular on?
Instagram
Yes.
and a bit of TikTok.
So those are the two major platforms that you use.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about you, Kush? What platforms work for you as an artist?
Instagram and TikTok as well.
So clearly we have two major platforms, Instagram and Twitter. And these are platforms that are predominantly for the youth and the Generation Z. Is there any engagement with older generations, or is your specific target audience for the young audience? Kush, specifically with your music career, is it for older generation or is it for the younger generation?
Actually, for my music, it's for, I would say it's for everyone, both for the old and the new generation. Yeah, because as long as you could relate to whatever I sing in my music, it means you are part of my journey.
Okay. Yeah. So it's about relating to your art.
Yeah.
And you found your audiences in these two platforms more than any other.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Claire? Do you create content for the younger or the older generation?
Both generations. But I would say for TikTok, it has more old generation than Instagram. Instagram, yes, they may be there, but they don't log in as much. But TikTok, everyone is there.
Yes, because TikTok will cut across the board. We have the younger people, the older people who are all there seeking entertainment.
Yeah.
And how did you start? Before your music career, Kush, was it pre-digital era or did it come after there was the digital migration?
Oh, it was during the digital migration.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then you really utilized all these platforms to push your art out there.
Yeah, with ads and campaigns, you know, that they a lot.
Okay. And just in case for the audience, Kushi Kush is a Nigerian artist who is based in Kenya, and his audience is, it cuts across Africa, basically, because we have the West Africa and the East Africa. So before we even dive deeper into that, because we want to understand why you migrated to Kenya, let me direct my question at Claire.
Yeah.
Did you decide, or were you informed by the digital platforms before you started your career and fully decided you want to be a content creator?
Yeah, I can say I was like influenced by that, and the best thing is that I was learning digital marketing. So before I joined Instagram, when I joined Instagram, I was like, I already had all the information I needed. Yeah.
Okay, so it informed your journey, and we can tell from both of you, your art has been largely informed by the digital space.
Yeah.
Now, do you think any of you will survive in the analog era? Because if you had to sell records.
I would say it will also go well, but social media's help everything easy. Like it's a less load of work for you. So I think I would survive, but it won't be
You
easy.
will have to work harder.
Yeah, yeah.
And what do you mean by less work?
Less work, because social media gives you a platform where you could advertise your craft or music, whatever. So by keying to those ads, like for upcoming artists and all that, even content creators, and then you promote your content or crafts with the adverts, it helps you like it reduces your workload.
So you will say because the marketing aspect
It's
is
easy.
easier.
Yeah.
But what about the process? Because I understand music takes time, the pre-production, like I was just mentioning before, even
Yeah.
with TV,
Yeah.
the pre-production is crazy. And I assume it's the same process
Yeah.
for you as an artist. And right now that we have diverse tastes and all these other artists on the same platform, the competition and the production, is it less work or is it more work now?
The truth is, you just have to give it your best,
Okay.
regardless. Even if there's no competition, there's competition. You just have to put in much work, like giving your best.
So regardless, you
Yeah.
just have to do your best.
Yeah.
Now, Claire, would you say if you were in the early 2000s and you were a content creator back then, would you survive the industry? Or how has the digital space transformed the field then and now?
I don't think I would survive, honestly. Honestly, I wouldn't survive. Because even right now, when maybe I don't have bundles, I am so stressed. Like when will I get home and get to that Wi-Fi and use my internet?
So
Yeah.
I feel like
wouldn't
most
survive.
people, especially in this era, are too reliant on the internet.
Sure.
I feel like if today something happened and the internet was out, the audience, you was watching us at home, if the internet went out today and you were told you cannot access Instagram, Twitter, Google even, would you survive? So go to our social media pages and tell me that. And clearly, the digital space has really transformed the way we engage with our audiences. You're now more in touch with your audiences. You can interact with them one-on-one.
Yeah.
Claire, has it really helped in your craft? The fact that you can directly talk to the people who you're creating content for?
Yeah, I can say it has really positively affected it. Because maybe right now I have a question and I want answers. I will just simply post on my Instagram, ask the question, and get different views. So yeah.
Okay. So the engagement will give you content sometimes.
Yeah.
Because I think we're all familiar with content creators who even ask, what should I do? Should I post this or that? And even artists. I know of Chloe Bailey who asked about what song to release before the other. Kush, do you engage with your audience now more frequently than you would have before?
Yeah. I do engage with my audience because I would say communication matters a lot, so
Yes.
interacting with your audience, it gives them a special edge, like they'll feel like they are part of your journey, and that's true, they are part of your journey, so it helps a lot for you.
So it makes them feel more connected.
Yeah,
to
like
you.
a family to you. Yeah.
Okay. And has that presented any dangers? Because I know, of course, there's the good side of engagement,
Yeah.
but there's also the cyberbullying and the negative criticism. Claire, how do you handle that if someone critiques you negatively?
First, I don't respond to them. Because when you just respond, they will be all over you,
Yeah, it
and
gets
they'll
that
get like other people to come at you. So I just don't respond at them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that would be the advice you'd give someone who's just starting and is dealing with an issue like that.
Yeah.
Okay. What about if it's too much? Let's say, Kush, you're a blown up artist and you're international at this point. So people will tell you their opinion without really regarding whether you're human or not. how would you respond to that if it's overwhelming? Because there are times when it's too much.
Like she's, for me too, I wouldn't say a word. I'll just like, okay, and then I scroll.
You just read and push P.
Yeah, for me.
I like the maturity of our guests. Because in this day and time, I feel like we have so many blogs and reporters even, and just ordinary people who are always willing to say something negative, or even for you. We're in Kenya, let's be honest, and one thing about Kenyans, they will say the most outright thing and you wonder what's going on. So have you never had an instance where it bothered you to the point where I just have to respond, I just have to say something? Any of you?
Sometimes when you respond to such issues, it gives like the person itself an edge over you to want to like look for more topic, whatever. So the best thing to do is just
Okay.
yeah, play the end card. That's the best thing for me.
That's a very smart move.
Yeah.
And I feel like I said, you're two very mature creators in the industry today, because we know instances of people who clap back. Like we saw a case of something that happened in the recent few days where a creator was insulted on live and her number was exposed, and she had to involve the police in a situation like that because it can pose a security risk.
Yeah.
Now, what if you get someone who discloses your location, or someone who discloses your number or your personal details? Claire, how would you handle a situation where maybe even a stalker, because now we have people with mental health issues?
Yeah. I think they will just talk to my lawyer.
And that's also another thing. I like that you've said that, because that's another thing, the legal framework of the whole industry, because now we just have anyone coming into the scene. So before we get into that, because I want to dive deeper into that, Kush, can I ask, what about the Kenyan scene made you feel like it's a better space for you in your music than where you were back home?
Actually, it wasn't my music that made me move. I would say I wanted an exposure. I'm a traveler though, so I love exposure, and Kenyan has given me that platform, like where I feel like the life, the culture, food, everything entirely is totally different from where I'm coming from. So I think it's not really about the music, you understand? But for that scenario, Kenyan got some good dope artists, like for real. Like I fuck with their music and I say, wow, is this guy really from Kenya? I would just be like, so yeah, I really want to work there.
Okay, so the exposure and also the social aspect of Kenya.
Yeah.
And I believe what he said is very true. There's so many artists who are underground performers and they're really good at their craft. And maybe it's because they've not just blown up yet, but the music is quality. And Claire, would you say it's because of our digital exposure that has created such artists who are refined?
Yeah, I would say it's because of our digital exposure. I was actually reading a tweet which was comparing Uganda to Kenya, and they were saying that Kenya is way, way far than Uganda in the digital aspects.
Okay. Yeah. And I totally agree, because Nairobi is advanced in terms of technology and the digital space. We are far much ahead than any other African countries. And based on that, now let's get into the legal aspect of matters.
Okay.
Because, now I can wake up, record something, post it, and no one will hold me accountable. Do you think there is a need for accountability, Claire? Based on the scenario I gave, someone insulted someone, and there is, within the Constitution, you have freedom of speech, freedom of expression. Do you think there needs to be regulation on what you say, how you say it, and who you address?
Yeah, I think there's supposed to be regulations. Like most of the cases in Kenya, you are just bailed out, most of them. But I think they're supposed to put like strict regulations and say if maybe you defame someone or you're caught cyberbullying someone, you're supposed to serve this imprisonment, like maybe 2 months.
Kush is laughing.
Yeah, maybe like 2 months for the discipline.
There needs to be accountability, basically.
Yeah.
Now, Kush, why were you laughing at the idea of cyberbullying, bullies being imprisoned?
I laughed because it means you are going to arrest everyone on the internet.
What do you mean?
Yeah, because like you can't control the numbers of people like losing their mind on the net. So like I've seen a scenario where someone like used a fake profile to insult someone, just to get the attention of that person. So imagine if something like that happens to you, how would you like get to that?
They do trace locations.
Yes,
They do
and
trace
you
locations.
see,
But they are
that's a
virtual
very real
locations.
scenario. I think that's a very real scenario
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
people have opened fake accounts
Yeah,
just to insult them, or even multiple accounts.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
just
Just to
you.
insult.
And
But don't you think punishing one person will send a message to others?
I don't think so. But
No, let us know and tell us what you think about it.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It's like you're just planning to like you say any person you just find like cyberbullying straight to the jail, yeah? That's gonna be really hard.
And I think based on what you're saying, it's also realistic.
Yeah.
The fact that it's very hard to pinpoint and say this is the cyberbully and this is the crime, given that the digital space has no regulations in terms of that. Like right now, yes, they're updating their security processes and you can make reports, but even cases where people have lost their pages, it's very hard to pinpoint.
Yeah.
But now don't you think it trickles down to the law of a specific country? Like when you're in Kenya, don't you think there should be a law that is placed about the regulation of these things?
On social media.
Yes.
But social media is not owned by government organization or so.
No, I understand that. And also the fact that it's international, it would be hard to hold someone accountable.
For real.
Okay. Now that's a very it's a very tricky situation
Yeah.
right there. So what would you recommend? Claire, aside from that, because now we are looking at the scenario
Yeah.
and it's a bit tricky. But how can we hold these people accountable?
Just block.
Just block them.
But they will create other accounts.
Yeah, you
Yes.
keep, block, you keep
Continue
blocking. You keep
Blocking.
blocking, yeah.
And the advantage is a platform like Instagram has given a button where you can block this and,
And
other
future
accounts
accounts they may
related.
create, yeah.
Yes, so that might be one solution.
Yeah.
What about in terms of the creators and the artists? Because now we're talking about the audience. That was the scenario of the audience who are receiving your art. What about the artists? Should there be some regulation of the content they put out there? Claire, let's say a platform like TikTok. We have children watching TikToks and we have elderly people watching TikToks. Should there be a law or some guideline that regulates what content can be put there?
Yeah, I think there should be like TikTok for minors. They maybe like say when you're registering TikTok, you have to provide for your ID and maybe take a picture of yourself. So you know, like if it's a minor, TikTok will know and maybe regulate the content that they see.
Okay. And that will verify that the person is indeed an adult.
Yeah.
Okay. Kush, what can you say are the differences between the Kenyan creative space versus the Nigerian creative space?
That's a tough one. Well,
You can pinpoint even one thing, one difference you've noticed.
I'll just say, if I'm to be honest, I'll say they all make me laugh. so, so for me, I don't see. For me, there's no difference actually. It's just like everybody doing their thing, like coming up with different contents, and that's okay for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is it because both are growing fields?
Like both countries.
Yes.
I think so. Because
That
they've
might
got
be
yeah,
one
they've-
reason.
yeah, that might be one reason. Because they've both got a lot of space to do whatever they're doing, and they're
Okay.
taking advantage of it, and that's nice. You know.
Okay. And the digital creative space is fairly new. Even the traditional media is just starting to accept that.
Yeah.
But I am aware that in Nigeria you promote local content more than in Kenya, because in Kenya we consume a lot of international content, but there's some regulation in your country to play more local content. Do you think if that applied in Kenya, it will help artists, especially musicians who are just coming up and they want to get their songs out there?
Yeah, you have to like sell your own product. That's the way to say it. Like you have to do your thing locally, so it will help.
It would help
It
the
would help,
artist.
yeah.
And even the country itself, because if we portray our creatives and we accept them, then it's easier or better for other countries to accept them.
Yeah.
Now, Claire, what would you say is the reason why this hasn't happened yet? Why don't Kenyans support Kenya? I feel like this is a question we need to all ask ourselves. Why don't we support our own?
Okay, I think the reasoning of everyone is different, and their taste is different. For example, if I grew up listening to Beyonce and I liked her, I continue liking her even now. I like her music. I just listen to her music. I'm obsessed with her music. I can't change and come and listen to a local artist.
Okay, but what if there's a case where you find a local artist with a similar sound to Beyonce?
Yeah, I will listen, but not as much.
As
you
Beyonce.
listen to Beyonce.
And now that is what I want to understand.
Yeah.
I truly understand that Beyonce is a brand that has created her name, and obviously we all respect the work that she has put into her career.
Yeah.
But if there is someone who's upcoming, similarly to the way she was doing about 20 years ago, she was with Destiny's Child, just coming up and trying to find people who will listen to her music. Why is there the disparity between you listening to this new artist versus you listening to Beyonce?
Okay. I can just, you can't outdo the doer.
True.
You can't outdo the doer. That's your response. What if someone said the same thing about you and they compare you to Kylie Jenner and they say Kylie does this, but I don't see Claire doing that?
Oh, fine.
Which I think, based on what you're saying, that is, most people will share that opinion. You know, we are very fixed with the taste that we have,
Yeah.
and getting new people and accepting new people is quite difficult for us. But if we don't give these new people a chance, then who will give them a chance? And I believe that it is our role to promote our own culture and support our own people, because the same way you would need the support is the same way Beyonce or whoever else needed the support back when she was starting up. And I find it funny that sometimes we get support from other countries or foreigners over our own people. Kush, would you say you've experienced that in your journey, where people from your hometown don't support you as much as people you've just met on the streets?
Yeah, it's normal. You know, like there's a famous saying: a prophet is not honored in his hometown. Yeah, so usually it goes that way.
So it's the same, you would say. Because much like Jesus, he was denied in his hometown. Now I wonder if it's because we know the people that we're dealing with. Now, if it's she's my neighbor and she just started singing, but I've known her. What do you mean she's a musician? Now, how can we change that? Claire,
Yeah.
if you're trying to find some new audience, you're trying to grow your page, how can you make them understand that you're just as good or even getting to the levels of content creators who are seasoned?
Okay, I can say that I just do me, because when you do you, there is some uniqueness that comes out, and people do love that uniqueness.
So just be true to yourself.
Yeah.
And that's a very genuine advice, because most people have this idea of fake it till you make it. And I see so many young people ascribing to that idea, the philosophy. Kush, would you agree with faking it till you make it?
Well, faking gives you a future problem. Yeah, it may not be like next 1 year, 2 years from now. It could be 5 years, 10 years from now, but eventually it will give you a problem because you're not being real to yourself and you're not being true to yourself. So the best is just to stay true to yourself all the time.
Okay, so it will force you to have to live up to what you've been selling
Yeah.
as a lie.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's a very good response to that, because most people say that, but I'll work and I'll get there and eventually it will be my lifestyle, and you would not agree with that.
No.
Okay, so if you've gotten that advice, be authentic. I feel like every single person in their journey has to be very authentic for
Sure.
their art to express what they want or intend it to express. Claire, would you say you've found it hard to build up your audience over the years? Has it been a hard task, or was it very easy? What has been your journey like?
It has been fair. I can't say it has been that difficult. Yeah, it was very fair. When I started, I was actually taught Instagram in class. I opened Instagram because of class purposes. And then later I grew interest and followers have been coming.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's basically you stumbled upon what you're doing now.
Yeah, and then started creating content, just simple ones, whatever I would afford that time and whatever I can afford now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's also something someone needs to hear, because people assume you have to buy a camera, you have to pay for all these outfits and all these things, which is basically faking it. So you start where you are and
Yeah.
build up from there. Kush, was it easy for you to make networks when you were starting out, to find the right producers and the right, even vixens in your videos? Was it very hard to find these networks when you were starting?
Yeah, it wasn't too hard for me. Yeah, I would say everything went like on a soft note. True God. I'm good.
Yes.
Yeah, so it wasn't too hard for me. Like I was favored.
Okay, and we love that word. You were favored, as you should be.
Mm.
And both of you have expressed that it probably came naturally to you. You found your way and you've been just moving through it very smoothly.
Yeah.
Do you think if there were any regulations, your content would be affected? Claire, if today the Minister of Communication was like, this is the regulation of what can be disseminated on media, would your content make the cut, or would it, you'd have to make some changes?
My content, from a child to any older person, can see it and relate with it. Okay, not all, but most of it, they can relate with it. So yeah.
Okay.
the cut.
And did you consider that when you were starting? Did you consider your audience, who could watch it? If you can show it to your grandma even, you thought it through?
Yeah, and then I just decided on what I wanted to do, and that became it.
Okay. Would you advise someone to do the same?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know most young ladies imagine that when you either show too much or if you're twerking or something, that's when you get the numbers. So people can people can move away from what they authentically want to express and go towards that. So would you say stick to your path and you'll make it, or would you advise someone go with the trends?
Stick to your path, be you, be unique, and everything will follow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I like the aspect of being unique as well, because you have to stand out one way or another. Okay. Kush, how do you copyright your work? Because I know if you're posting your work on SoundCloud or on Spotify or YouTube, someone can take your work and use it as their own. How do you go about copywriting your work?
For me, I use DistroKid to distribute my songs. So DistroKid gives me a copyright tag, so I just verify it, like this music is mine and everything, and then I use Songtrust and Sound Exchange to get my like royalties. So also I use BMI, like I have to like secure all my royalties for me. So,
and this is very informative. Please
Yeah.
tell the audience clearly, because I know there's a musician who's coming up and does not know the process. So how would you advise step by step, from the copywriting to the royalties to securing all that?
it's a process that you should do and you must do, because you wouldn't want a situation where like you are trending but you don't have any cash on it. You understand? So first of all, when you upload your song, when it's being distributed, they give you the copyright version, and then you verify that's your song. You do that on Soundtrust, and you also go to Sound Exchange. It's like twice. You do the first one, and then you do it again to verify it. And then BMI is also like royalties gathered from TikTok, different social medias and everything. So they just like put it in for you and makes it easier.
Okay, so that's like a wallet for all your royalties.
Yep.
Okay, and that's very informative. I hope whoever is listening at home has taken note of that, because as an artist, you have to be careful about the legal framework that you put into your work. Otherwise, you'll make art and someone else will use it as their own. I've actually watched something today of someone who wrote a book and then it was taken to a publisher as an anonymous author, and someone else took credit for that work. So would you recommend, Claire, as well, for the young content creators and artists, would you recommend them to find some legal party to ensure that their content is not, what is the word? Plagiarized. Yeah, it's not plagiarized, as taken by someone else as their own. How do you ensure that?
Okay, for pictures, it can be a bit difficult because someone might take it and go use it somewhere like Europe. You may never find out, but they have used it, and your credits are just taken. Yeah.
Okay. And if we're being honest, in Kenya we have this bad habit of plagiarizing people's work.
True.
You'll go into a supermarket, okay, not a supermarket, let's say a small business like an apparel shop, and they have the face of Rihanna there. And Rihanna was not part of marketing at all for that. And I've had a case of a local content creator who complained about her face and her images being utilized by another page for their marketing purposes because she's wearing something similar. So in a case like that, how do you go about ensuring that your art is very well kept? Do you get a lawyer, or what do you do about situations like that?
For now in Kenya, I can say there are not many regulations, but there should be, because right now if you find someone has used your photo maybe to advertise a cloth, you may not do much. You may just talk and say, you should not post me, and that's all.
And that's about it.
Yeah.
Now, is that a problem?
It is a very big problem.
Yes.
Because I've made effort. Maybe I went to the studio, I even paid, but I'm getting nothing out of it.
True. And we have so many people who've paid for the art, because content creation is not easy.
At all.
And you have to truly invest, even just your time. You've taken your time into making this artwork, and someone uses it as their own, which is truly unfair. And I think I will just recommend for every content creator to have a lawyer or a legal advisor for situations like that. And what about, can we talk about the lyrics in the music?
Okay.
Because I know that this is a very sensitive thing, but the lyrics in music these days are very derogatory. We have obscene words, and even the videos, we have people twerking and showing all these things. Kush, do you think it's necessary to regulate things like that?
To regulate like the contents behind the video.
Yes.
For me,
Or even just the lyricism of the music.
for me, it depends. I would say it depends on the artist itself, because like for my music, I specifically talk about my journey of life and maybe things like I've seen, like I could relate with in my life journey. So if getting my audiences to like flow or synchronize with my lyrics, and then I make a video, and the video tells or explains the lyrics, I don't see anything wrong in that. Okay, but if I'm doing something nonchalant, like something like I just out of the blue moon, you know, lyrics, say bish, bitches, pussy, just, you know.
Yes,
Now I
randomly.
think such things needs to be attended to. Now we can involve regulations on them.
Yes.
Yeah, but if you're doing something really good, and it explains it, like it brings out the clarity of whatever you are singing or the message you are trying to pass out, then that's okay.
Okay. So that is just self-regulation,
Yep.
basically. So
Yes.
it's upon the artist to
Artist, yeah.
decide what should I put out.
Yeah.
Because I'm aware, even international artists who will make music and they don't even allow their children to listen to that music. And for me, I wonder why. Because if you want other people's kids to listen to this music, why not your own? Or why did you even make it in the first place?
Yeah.
So basically, it's about self-regulation as an artist. You have to know what you want to send the world as your message, or
Yeah.
who your brand is.
Exactly.
Okay, and now let's talk about branding a bit. Claire, did you know what your brand was when you were starting out? Were you sure this is what you want to do?
When starting, I was not very sure. I was hopping from one content to another, and then I just realized what I am good at. I can call it the trial period. I never knew exactly what I wanted, but now I know.
And it's okay for someone to have the trial period, as
It's
you
really
said.
okay.
Yeah, because I believe once you know what you want, you'll settle there after you've gone through 1, 2, 3 steps and you've gotten there. Kush, were you sure about the kind of music? You've just expressed that you draw your inspiration from real life situations. When you were starting out, were you sure that that is the kind of music that you wanted to put out?
I wasn't so sure.
Yeah.
I was sometimes I was having mixed feelings of like what I wanted to do, so I wasn't really sure. But at the end of the day, I got to understand my pattern and my sound, so I had to stick with that.
So it took you some steps before you got there.
Yeah.
And was there any artist who largely inspired your journey?
Physically.
How else would? But yeah, physically, spiritually, emotionally.
No, when I meant physically, I was thinking maybe you're talking about social media. So, like.
Okay, as well as in relation to social media, because I know sometimes with our celebrities, it's not like you'll walk into a restaurant and just run into them.
Yeah.
So we see them through the media that we have. So is there anyone who or even someone you met in person that really inspired your journey?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And would you say they really self-regulated their work? Or was it just, we're out here?
They didn't really self-regulated their work. You know, like the truth is just if somebody's gonna be there for you, it will. So let's say they're just there.
They're just there.
Yeah.
I wonder who these role models are. Now, Claire, back to you. When you're starting out and as you've been going on with your entire journey, who has been someone who you look up to and you emulate very heavily in your creation?
She's Nigerian too. She's called Diana.
Ah. Okay, and you knew her through social media?
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw her content, and I saw her content after I joined Instagram, and I said, one day it's me and her. Yeah.
And I like that. Now, based on that, would you recommend someone to follow pages and people who inspire them? Or just whatever is entertaining to them is just okay?
I think you should follow, most of your followers should be people who inspire you, so that daily you can see their post and say like you need to work hard, you need to get there.
Okay. And I would agree with that, because I think what we see, what we hear, and what we even just smell sometimes will influence who we are as a character and as a person.
Sure.
So back to the regulations, because I feel like there is a lot of freedom in the creative space in this day and time. There is a lot of freedom because, like Kush mentioned earlier, it's very hard to find who to hold accountable and even access them behind the screens, because they can be using a cyber and just posting their mean tweets out there. Do you think there should be a platform or something within the social media platforms, a button perhaps, that will help you filter out the negativity? And if someone is saying something that is abusive or insulting your art, Kush, do you think there should be those regulations within the platforms?
But there are those regulations on Instagram and even Twitter. Like there are some type of comments you comment on someone's post, and Instagram will just flag it, like they just put it.
So it's just upon someone to know how to turn on
comment,
those settings.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's also another advancement in technology, because truly if you can block and you can prevent them from commenting, then that's an added bonus. Okay, now we know that TikTok is also very strict about the content that is on there, and people go on live, and that's where maybe the craziness is. Because I know I've heard stories about TikTok live late in the night that will do some crazy stuff just maybe to get money or to get the viewership. Would you recommend someone to do that, Claire, or not, if you want to grow your numbers? Maybe even following the trend, because I know there's the current AI trend of people, I don't know what they're doing. But would you recommend someone to do that, follow the trends, or do something crazy to get the clout?
No, I would not recommend. I would say God's timing is the best. Just do you and wait upon God.
And that's very well said, because
Yeah.
we have to understand timing, and God's timing is truly the best time.
Yeah.
Kush,
Yeah.
if you walked into TikTok live and you saw a fellow artist doing the AI trend,
I just swiped.
you'd swipe. You will not try to even maybe help him out to promote his content.
Sometimes what they do there on that live is crazy. So,
Yeah.
And usually, for a person like me, like I'm a really shit type of guy, so I wouldn't want to involve myself in such. So I just swipe.
So I can tell that both of you are just like avoid. If I don't see it, it does not exist.
Yeah, but that's true. Where,
Yeah.
where there's no evidence, there's no case. So, so that's how it's supposed to
Okay, so now I just want to go to our social media platforms. Timo, I don't know if you can pull that up. We've gotten some comments from you, and I just want to read that. So I can start on my phone. We have Calvino the boy who says, Pitia. I don't know. Tuna Pitia wapi Calvino? We have Juthufu Gatungi Msafi who says Westlands Taxi Drivers Business Community na Njambina Satima Sako na Njambina Boda Boda Riders well represented. Thank you so much for that. You are family, all of you guys. Thank you for watching us. Stephen Oboko says, yes, I think they should be regulated. What content are they sharing and what are their impacts to the society? Thank you for that, Stephen. Yes, there is a need for regulation. Musamali Luke says, yes, wengine wanatumia kama advantage kukejeli na kutusi watu wengine. And we see that a lot today. People take advantage of their being anonymous behind the screens and they can do whatever. We have Stevo Mkua Waku says it shouldn't be regulated. Uchumi ni mbaya walai. Stevo, are you doing the AI trends? Tell us. Pedi Wasadam Mbeka says yes. So I think that means yes, they should be regulated. Thank you so much for those comments. I believe that was on Facebook. And we've gotten that. Some of you think there should be regulation and some of you think that it should just be left as it is. Now, let me just ask, in conclusion, yes or no? Claire, do you think there should be regulation?
Yes, there should be regulation.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you, Kush? So your answer is no, there shouldn't be regulation. Okay. Now let me bring it back to the mental health aspect. let me take it back to the mental health aspect as we wind up.
Yeah.
We have people who have issues. We've recently seen someone who committed suicide because he was dealing with so much. And some of us deal with a lot and we don't know how to express that. Claire,
Yeah.
don't you think someone might cyberbully you and it might be the tipping point of everything and there needs to be some sensitivity? Would you agree that that is something that's needed?
Yeah, it is really needed. Regulations are really needed because someone can have low confidence, and when you tell them something not even as harsh as it's supposed to be, just a small thing, but can hurt them emotionally and maybe lead to something like depression, suicide.
So there needs to be even sensitivity, like we said, self-regulation, if not the government regulating.
You do it
Yeah.
yourself.
Now, Kush, not everyone is as strong as you. Not everyone can ignore and block people. What would you advise to an upcoming artist who just made his first song, put it on YouTube, and then he got a comment saying, "You're trash, go back home"?
Wow.
What would you advise someone like that?
Just ignore for real and continue with whatever you're doing, because there's for me, I believe there's always somebody out there that would relate to your craft no matter what.
Okay.
So even if we get these bad opinions, these trash talks from other people, but there's gonna be good ones. So focus yourself on the good comments and then try to see how you can groom yourself from the bad ones.
Okay.
So you just
And
live
maybe
life.
even take sometimes as a critique,
Yeah.
because someone might want to give you some advice, but they said it in a negative way.
Negative way, yeah.
Okay. So that's very good advice. For the bullies, be sensitive. And for the people who are on the receiving end, the creators, it's very well mannered to just ignore these things, because sometimes you can engage in the back and forth and you ruin your brand.
True.
As well as for your mental health, I think just ignore all the negative people and find people to talk to who are positive and who encourage you to do your best every day. So as we wind up, because our time is running out, I just want us to give a parting shot to wind up this entire conversation, because we have the content creators and the musicians. So maybe talk to someone in the audience who's doing something in the fields that you are, and what would you advise them as someone who's coming up, someone who's established even, and they just want some more advice? Ladies first, let me start with Claire.
Yeah, I would say you are the best there is, the best there are, and the best there will ever be. So just do you, and God will do the rest.
Okay, that's very well said.
Yeah.
And I like the insertion of God there. God is very important.
He's above all.
Amen.
Yeah.
Kush, what's your parting shot to an artist who's just watching you?
You're doing great. You just do the best of you. Give yourself more time. Relax. You know, enjoy the vibe. Enjoy the vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is a very Gen Z thing to say. Enjoy the vibe. Yeah. And this has been a beautiful conversation. I like that both of you have dropped gems, and your journeys have been very similar. You've been authentic to yourselves, and you have grown your craft very organically, which is a positive thing to see in this day and time. So maybe I would advise someone who's coming up in the creative industry. It's young, it's new, and there's so many opportunities. We have so many creatives who are waiting for employment or waiting for the opportunities. Create your own opportunities. If you have your phones, just go online, Google. If you want to maybe emulate someone, see what they do, find out their process, and do something similar. And as Kush said, if you're an artist, I believe copywriting is very vital for your work. If you want it to remain authentic, and if you want to avoid any cases of people using your work without your permission, make sure you Google, find the right information on how to do your copyrights and how to get your royalties, because it's a very tricky situation and you have to just keep learning as a creative and keep growing. So that will be it. I don't know if we have a parting shot today. Timo? I'm not sure if we have a parting shot. If we did, maybe he will bring it up. But that is it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name has been Sherry Blessing, and this is the Power Talk Show. We will have a repeat of this same show tomorrow between 1 p.m. and 2 p.m. on Y254 TV. In case you missed that as well, we have our YouTube channel, which is at Y254. Go to the playlist that is Power Talk, and you will find this and many more episodes which you can go back and refer to. We usually give so much advice and great gems for the young people who are coming up and who want to understand how to improve their crafts. That is it. Thank you so much again for your time, and I wish you a very lovely evening.